What's up, world? Thanks for jumping in for another ride. In this video, we're going to do a review on the Nitto Terra Grappler G2 tires. Now, really quick, I want to be 100% transparent. This is no sort of brand deal. I actually paid for these tires directly out of my pocket. And in the spirit of fairness, what I don't want to do is compare these all-terrain tires to the original tires that came on my 2016 Ford F-150, which are a highway tread tire. So we're going to be moving from a highway tread tire to an all-terrain tire. Now, these tires are in a 275/65/18, and they are the XLs. And XL stands for extra load. Now, there is an additional part number for the 275/65/18 tires where you get a little more tread depth and you get a little bit heavier sidewall and plies with this tire. Now, with that, like everything else in life, there is an exchange for that. The additional part number that accompanies this is a heavier tire. I opted to go for what was recommended to go on this truck, and it is a lighter tire, so it will actually improve fuel mileage. So we're going to go ahead and stick with the part number that Nitto recommends for this truck, and that is part number 216250. And so we're going to go ahead and get these highway tread Goodyears off of the 2016 Ford F-150 and go ahead and get these Nitto Terra Grappler G2s mounted up, and we'll start getting every driving condition that we possibly can. And please do me a huge favor, go ahead and stick around to the end of this video, and I'll give you my honest thoughts of where I think this tire really fits into the market for an all-terrain versus the other options that are out on the market. And you know the deal, I got to ask you real quick, please do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell notification, and hit that subscribe button. Now let's get these tires mounted up. Really quick, as I was mounting up these tires, I wanted to point out the sipes to remove rainwater, and the sipes are really consistent throughout the tread blocks. And on one side, there is sort of this S or a lightning bolt pattern. We'll get that out of the way. And the font is actually different, so you can see the Terra Grappler G2 logo up there. And if we flip around to the other side, you can see that it kind of has this T pattern so that you can switch sides on it, and it has more of a block letter for the Terra Grappler G2 logo. So I think we're going to go with the S or the lightning bolt pattern, and that's what's going to show on the outside of the sidewall. So the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s are mounted up, and we're actually going to make a quick run up to the grocery store and to fill up on gas on the truck. So we thought it would be a good time since, as you can see, we are having some light showers come through. So we thought it'd be a good time to test what we can with dry and slightly wet road conditions. I don't know how much rain we're going to get. It'll give us an opportunity to see what we can test. Now, again, in the spirit of fairness, I'm doing my best not to compare the new tires to the old tires because I did get just over 100,000 miles out of a set of tires. And after 100,000 miles, to say the least, they definitely had their issues. They were loud, they rode rough. One of the things that I've immediately noticed about these tires, for some reason, is they turn in really smooth. And I have to assume I'm just, again, comparing to the old tires, but the initial turn in is absolutely excellent on the Terra Grappler G2s. Well, my opinion is I think Nitto and its sister company or owning company, Toyo, is probably a bang for the buck tire. Now, the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s have earned the Twin Peaks, so they are going to be snow and ice certified, which is pretty cool, especially for the price point when you consider an all-terrain tire. So that is an absolute bonus. And being in Texas, really probably don't need to worry about that a whole lot, but for anyone in northern states, if you're interested in these tires, that Twin Peaks is probably going to be important for you. And as you can see, we are starting to get some slight rain, and it's crazy the noise level difference in the old tires. But again, 100,000 mile tires, these are so much quieter. They absolutely ride so much better too. So I'm going to accelerate up to about 80, 85. I think the speed rating on these tires is 110, something like that. I'm not sure how often you're going to do 110 with an all-terrain tire, but They are speed rated at 110. So I'm just going to kind of cover the wheel, let off of it, and see if they track pretty straight. And I'm tracking a little bit to the right, probably some of the grooves in the highway. So they track pretty good. They definitely don't track as well as a highway tread, but they're an all-terrain tire, so I would say that is definitely to be expected, kind of a normal. And there is a slight all-terrain tire, off-road tire whine to them compared to the highway tread, but the overall noise level is much quieter than the old tires. Now, previously on my 2012 F-150 Platinum, I did have the first generation Terra Grapplers on it and pulled Pirellis off of it, and absolutely loved the first generation Terra Grapplers. And so that was also a big part of my decision to go ahead and go with this Terra Grappler G2 to give them a try on the 2016 F-150. Slight off-road tire whine, which is, again, to be expected with an all-terrain tire, but it's nothing crazy, nothing like an aggressive mud terrain or anything like that. The stability in turning and the turning in is really what I'm most impressed with. I think the traction rating on the Terra Grappler G2s is a AA, so good traction rating. So I'm assuming that turning has a lot to do with that traction rating, and plus just a good overall tread design. And as you can see, we've got some good rain coming through, and I'm staying steady about 75. And this is mostly asphalt highway, as you can see. The bridges are concrete, so it's giving us a good variety of paved surface to drive on. So far as on-road driving, I think these are an absolute great bang for the buck alternative to some of the more expensive tires. And like I said, this channel is not sponsored or supported in any way by Nitto or Toyo. Getting paid for these right out of my own pocket, so this is 100% honest. Well, this absolutely turned out to be a great day to test these tires. I didn't expect to have a good steady shower to initially get out and test them, so this is pretty cool. So there's a pretty good sweeping turn right here, so we're going to stay steady about 65, and we're just going to cruise along beside this guy, and hopefully he stays in his lane. But there's a lot of wrecks, a lot of accidents on this curve. So, and with it just raining, you know, all the oil's floating up to the surface. And yeah, no problem at 65. So you can see the speed limit up ahead 70, so the steering response is much faster. Just past the Z06, that was pretty cool. So we will try and check out some other situations to use these tires in, and we will continue using them. They've done great in dry, they've done great wet, so great paved surface performance. I think they do good. Just be aware that there is going to be a slight increase in noise if you're going from a highway tread. Good tire to the Nitto Terra Grapplers. I think so far for on-road performance, they're a great bang for the buck tire. So let's see if we can get these in some other conditions and see if we can maybe do some towing or some off-roading with it. So we have now driven in dry conditions, normal highway driving, back road driving, all the normal stuff, and we have driven in light rain, we've driven in extremely heavy rain, and we're about 350, somewhere around 350, 400 miles on the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s, and I have to say that they've done an absolute great job. So far on dry conditions, they've done really well. There is that little bit of like off-road tire noise, which is pretty typical with any sort of all-terrain. Although I have to say, and I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but it's almost as if the noise is outside of the truck and not this drone that's very common with like with a performance exhaust or extreme off-road tires or something like that that's inside the truck. So I do want to clarify that. I hope that makes sense, that the all-terrain type of tire noise is really more coming from the outside of the truck and not inside. So it's definitely not annoying by any means. It's just part of it. I do understand that, so not a big deal. Wet driving conditions, the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s perform absolutely great. No complaints whatsoever. I'm really happy with the wet condition driving. And like I say, we've driven in just normal rain conditions, like a light rain, and we've driven in an absolute downpour going to an archery tournament, and no complaints whatsoever with the rain condition driving as far as the grapplers are concerned. So that gets us to where we're at right now. We have got our Rycote J-Flight. It is a 174 BH RV camper behind the truck, and it probably weighs right now about 2,900 pounds, something like that. We're actually completely empty on any sort of water, liquids, anything like that. So Colin and I are going to stop up the road and see if we can fill up the 20-gallon water tanks, and we'll pick up a couple of 100 pounds then at that point. But I just really want to go over really quick how the Terra Grapplers, the Terra Grappler G2s, because the first gens obviously aren't available anymore, how the Terra Grappler G2s perform towing. And I have to say that they've done a really good job so far. One of the things that is interesting to me is towing, that basically all of the off-road tire sound completely goes away. So I'm actually really happy with that. It's kind of a surprise. I really didn't expect that at all. But yeah, so the off-road sound pretty much completely goes away with a load behind the truck. So that's pretty cool. They tow absolutely great. And this is just a little single axle trailer, so it does still have a little bit of sway. You can probably see it in the camera a little bit. I'm not sure. The stabilization may take some of that out because I did turn all the stabilization stuff on the camera since we are driving down the road. And so I'm really happy with the way the Terra Grappler G2s perform towing. Have no complaints whatsoever. And I would really be curious to compare these to some of the more expensive tires. In particular, whenever I say that, the BF Goodrich KO2s come to mind. And those tires are going to be about an $80 to $100 higher price point than the Nitto Terra Grapplers. And I have actually had experience with the KO2s, and I'm a big fan of the KO2s. I really like those. And so I would really like to do almost like a back-to-back comparison of the KO2s to the Nitto Terra Grapplers, especially with that price point difference. So I know the BF Goodrich is a little more of a premium tire, where the Nittos is almost more of a bang for the buck tire, I guess, if you will. But so far, the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s have not disappointed. And so now Colin and I are headed out to our last hunt of the season. And so hopefully next stop, we'll get a little bit of off-road footage of these tires. We'll see how they do. We'll get a feel for that. And it's not going to be anything extreme, no crazy rock crawling, no giant mud pits, nothing like that. It's just going to be super basic stuff. But again, it's an all-terrain tire, so I'm totally happy with that. I'm not going to try to beat these tires up by any stretch and ask them to do something that they were really never designed to do. So at that point, we can go ahead and get an evaluation of how the Terra Grappler G2s are going to do in some really simple off-road conditions. And we can kind of go ahead and do an overall evaluation of the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s. And before we get over here to the off-road spot, if you haven't already, please do me a huge favor. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit that bell notification. And if you're on a mobile device, go ahead and check your notifications. Make sure that you get notified anytime we upload a video. And Colin and I are going to get back on the road, headed out to our last hunt of the season. Hey, started cutting into our review of the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s. I want to take a second to thank you for clicking or tapping on this video and hanging out with us. We absolutely believe that time is the most valuable asset, and the fact that you would spend it with us truly means a lot to us. If you would, please do me a huge favor. When you have a moment, click on the link down in the description below. We've actually got a new merch store up and running, and we're going to be dropping merch pretty regularly down there, and some of the stuff will be limited, and some of it would just be up on the merch store all the time. So please check out the new merch store when you have a moment. And now back to the review of our Nitto Terra Grappler G2s. So this is obviously not any sort of off-road conditions, but one of the things that I'm always curious about with a set of truck or SUV tires, any sort of all-terrain tire, anything like that, is if I'm going to be driving down a county road like this, that's a gravel road, does the tire pick up a lot of gravel, and does it stay in the treads of the tire and then eventually sling out of the tread and all over the vehicle? And I am very happy to say that the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s are doing a fantastic job of not getting gravel and rock stuck into the treads and slinging all over the truck. So you could probably hear in the background, I hope so anyway. I don't have a mic hooked up. I'm actually just grabbing my phone to video this road. So they're doing a really good job. No worries with gravel or anything being picked up by the treads of the tires. So everything is staying cleaned out and evacuated good, and it's definitely not beating the truck up. And so Colin and I are going to head on into our hunting area. So this is heading into our hunting camp, and this is basically just a dirt trail or grass grown up trail, whatever you want to call it. There's very little gravel here. There is some, but not a ton. So normally going down this road, what I will do is actually just lock the differential so that both rear wheels are locked in, and no four-wheel drive or anything like that necessary right now. But the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s are doing absolutely great. And sorry if I'm everywhere with the camera. I'm actually looking in the rear view mirror right now, making sure that the camper is clearing the tree that we just went under. And so yeah, we're doing great right now. So obviously no slipping, and this is kind of a little bit of a wet area right here that we're going through. It hasn't rained in a couple of days, maybe a day and a half, 2 days, something like that. So it's still just kind of a little moisture in the ground, but nothing too dramatic. So just kind of wanted to document this little kind of off-road dirt trail entrance, pulling the Jayco J-Flat. And we are actually full of water now, so we're probably about 3,200 pounds, something like that. And the Nitto Terra Grapplers are doing absolutely great down through here. And we'll go down here and check out this little place down the road, we'll see what it has going on. So yeah, you can tell that it's been a little wet down here. Nothing too crazy right now. I'm gonna get up on this elevated area and try and stay out of as much as the low ruts as possible. And we'll ease through here. So far, so good on the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s. So I thought it would be appropriate to cap off the Nitto Terra Grappler G2 all-terrain tires outdoors. And Colin and I are actually on our last hunting trip of the season, so we're going to spend a couple of days out here, and very thankful to be able to spend time in the outdoors with my son out here. Who knows how long this will last, but I want to try to take advantage of every minute of it that I can. So he actually did a morning hunt this morning, saw a doe and a mama doe and a little fawn, and just hung out with them, watched them for a while. We haven't got anything, but anyway, back to the Terra Grapplers. Kind of see the dirt up on the sidewalls, and I had one area particularly in mind, and I'm going to flip around here and show you this little dirt trail that goes down through that tree line down there. That is actually one of the places where I intended to maybe drive to give these tires a little bit more of a test. The landowner's moved some equipment in here to do a little bit of land management. Primarily, he's actually cleaning out a pond for his cattle, stock pond. So I really don't want to drive down there and interrupt anything that he's working on. So here's what I think I want to do. I want to do it like this. Let's give this a thumbs up. Let's give it a 1 through 5. So I'm going to give the Terra Grapplers a 1 through 5 rating on a couple of different categories. So my thoughts on the Terra Grapplers as far as road manners, and I'm going to start there as far as highway driving. And this is probably a little bit unfair for the Terra Grapplers to say this, but in road manners, highway manners, however you want to put that, they're almost their worst enemy. I'm going to be honest, they're such a good tire. I had to give them a 4 thumbs up in road manners, and the only reason why I can really say that is if you compare these to, you know, a good name brand quality highway tread tire, they don't have the they don't have the turn in, and they don't have the input and the feel back in the steering wheel, and everything now is electronic steering racks and all that, so it's not exactly the same. But with the side lugs on it and stuff like that, it just don't have the same as a highway tread. I know that's probably a little bit unfair, but I'm just going to be, honest. If we're going to go kind of thinking about the best tires out there, I'm going to give it a 4 thumbs up in highway manners. And for ride quality, I have to give these tires, being an all-terrain, an absolute 5. I cannot believe the ride quality with these tires. It's really impressive. So let's give it a 5 with ride quality. So highway manners 4, ride quality 5. And appearance, as far as an all-terrain tire, I have to give it a 5. I do like the lightning bolt or the S pattern, however you want to put it, and the T pattern on the other side. So I like to have the options and the different fonts. So appearance definitely gets a 5. You can kind of see the dirt coming up on the outside lugs there of these tires. So we've gone through some off-road locations, I guess you could say. And in all fairness, these tires are way more capable of anything that I've done going down these little dirt trails and these mud holes like that out there that I showed you. Next up is price point. I have to give them a 5. When you compare these tires to like a BF Goodrich KO2, something like that, with the premium tires being $80 to $100 more, I have to say that this is the absolute bang for the buck all-terrain tire. And again, this is totally opinion. We are not supported in any way by Nitto, so I actually paid for these tires out of my own pocket. So this is 100% opinion. We kind of did what we could do as far as off-road areas to go through, and we actually intended on going to a little bit different spot. Nothing drastically different, just a little bit different elevation gain, a little bit steeper incline, and a few rocks, but nothing crazy. But we did pull the camper down these little dirt trails, and we have all kinds of mud holes like that up there that I showed you. So off-road capability, I have to give these a 5 thumbs up. Absolutely. These tires are way more capable than anything that I have done with them at this point. So I don't know, sort of what that limit is, and where that limit is where you want to cross over to start going into a hybrid, something like the Ridge Grappler or a tire like that. But these tires are absolutely capable. And the one drawback to these tires that I had mentioned earlier is that little bit of an off-road tire whine or a hum coming off of them. And it's nothing just drowning out, the interior of the truck or anything like that. It's nothing crazy. And the odd thing is, when we're towing our camper, the sound goes away. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it does. Towing capability. I have to give these tires a good solid 5 thumbs up for that reason. I'm really impressed with the towing, so I'm very happy with that. And again, I'm going to top this video off with saying, in all fairness, I haven't pushed these tires to the limit in any sort of off-road capability whatsoever. We just had what we had to work with. So I'm very happy. You can see that, we got through some pretty deep ruts and some muds and stuff out there, getting into our off-grid hunting area. So I guess following the dirt roads, we're probably 5 miles in, something like that. Nothing super crazy. Like I said, we haven't had rain in a couple of days. So, we haven't pushed them to the limit, but we did have a light shower a couple of days ago. And I will go ahead and say that I do think this was a fair enough test to say that probably 90 to 99% of the people that purchase an all-terrain tire, if they're going to a hunting camp, an off-grid camping location, a fishing camp, anything like that, any sort of hiking location, that I think these tires are going to do absolutely fine. I don't think there would be any reason to doubt the capability of these tires in any sort of an average going off-road application. I think these tires are absolutely fantastic for that, especially if you're going to have quite a bit of highway driving or back road driving to get to your location. And I'll go ahead and state again what I said a little earlier in the video. I would be real curious to do a head-to-head comparison of the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s against some of the more higher end tires, say the BF Goodrich KO2, something like that. And I just know that's a good tire, so that's kind of comes to my mind when I think about an all-terrain tire. So that is my review and honest thoughts about the Nitto Terra Grappler G2s. So really appreciate you watching, appreciate you hanging out. You know the deal. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell notification. And as always, jump in for another ride. I'm going to get back to camp and go hang out with my son, do a little hunting. We're going to cook something out of here on the grill, and we will see you on the next video.